everyone, welcome to DevOps Info channel. Today we are going to take a look at the Azure Open AI. This video focuses on the Azure Open AI service and steps to create enterprise-grade solutions using the OpenAI models. This is a fundamental initial part of the video for users who wanted to know about what is OpenAI, how it is working, and how it is integrated with Azure. In the last year, we have already created a video on how to integrate the Chat GPT-3 with the Azure Open AI using the Azure Open AI Studio. If you have not taken a look at it, I highly recommend to have a look at it because that would really help you in understanding how this Azure Open AI is helping uh, to use this Chat GPT models. So in future, I will cover one example with a real use case for this Azure Open AI. Going further, as of now, we know the most common use cases for the AI are below. Generating the natural language model, which is like you give a series of text to the AI, it would be able to give you a better output. If you want to summarize, like a paragraph, it would be able to give you a better output. So the most common use cases for general generating the natural language, and the second one is for generating the code. Usually, like if you want to, uh, you know. Correct a code if you want to understand the code because these language models are capable of understanding dozens of codes, so you can input them and they will be able to help you or even understanding what is the code about. And the last thing is like generating the images. If you send a text with the image that you want to generate, it would be able to generate the image and give you an output of it. So, in general, if you talk about the large language models, they are using, the OpenAI is using the large language models. These models, such as GPT-3, GPT-4, are trained to predict the next word in a sentence by learning from a vast quantities of existing text because they have a big data, basically a sanitized data, which is using as a source of generating the output. Users can control this large language model through instructions, completions, scenarios, or demonstrations. So they do the transformer architectures. They are trained on massive data sets with which they will be able to recognize, predict, or generate the text. So they are capable of understanding and creating the languages. That's also an important thing. So examples of OpenAI technologies. These are the common examples of the OpenAI technologies. If you talk about the GPT-3, which was the predecessor of the current versions, they are powerful language models that can generate a human-like text based on the natural language input. It has been used for various applications, including the chatbots, content creation, and the text summarization. And the DALI, the second one is the image generation model that creates the original images from whatever the text that you give it as an input. For like for example, like whatever you have an a requirement to generate an image, even the images whatever you see on this presentation today, everything is generated by DALI. I just I wanted to see the example. So whatever the images that you see today here, everything is generated by the DALI. And the second one is third one is the OpenAI Codex. This is the language model that will help you to generate the code or even understand the code that you have. This helps the developers on providing the code suggestions, fixing the bugs, and even creating the entire functions based on the input whatever you give. And the fourth one is the OpenAI Gym. This is a library for the reinforcement of the learning environments. This basically helps the researchers and the developers to experiment with various learning algorithms and the agents. The last one is the OpenAI baselines. These are the pre-trained informants algorithm. These are the basically the fundamentals of any creations in the field of robotics, game playing, and optimization. So this play a major role, for example, the game playing in the robotics. And if you ask me how these natural language models are trained, because we need to understand how it works, because you give a series of input, it is trained on the massive data sets, then it is giving you an output. But how this is working in overall is they start with the uh, they basically start with something called tokenization. So this token, like for example, in this case, you see a natural language model, how it is deployed. Like there is a user interface which is empowered by the chatbot, and then they have the natural language model. It's GPT-3 or 4 or 4.5. They have it in the backend, and that is trained on a massive data sets. So when the user is inputting a data, like for example, in this case, it's a hamburger, this is broken down into chunks of data called tokens, because this token plays a crucial role in identifying what is the user input and then sending it into vector mapping. They use something called vector mapping. So each token is mapped into a vector representation. So these vectors would capture a semantic meaning and a context. So based on this multiple chunks of token they sent into vector mapping, they will try to capture a semantic meaning and the context, and then it is generating the output or classifying the text, and then they give the result outside. They give the result to the user. So basically, these tokens play a crucial role. And remember, this tokenization enables the language models to handle a complex input effectively. Because in this example, I'm just doing one sentence as a hamburger. Imagine that you're giving a huge paragraph, then it divides into multiple chunks of tokens, and these tokens are fed into vector mapping, and from that it is doing the analysis on the data, what it is having in the backend as sanitized data, and as a result of that, it is finding the right output and giving it to the user. So going to talk about the Azure AI, yeah, it gives the users to ability to combine the Azure enterprise grade solutions with many of the OpenAI generative models. Because the question might come in like, okay, I can use the OpenAI directly, but what is the benefit of using the Azure OpenAI? Because you can utilize the Microsoft infrastructure, you can utilize the Microsoft security enforcements, all these things, and then you can make it as an enterprise grade rollout for the customers. And that's the main important thing, because utilizing Azure OpenAI, you can use it, but how are you going to deploy it in the enterprise grade level? So in this case, Azure AI, Azure Open, Azure and OpenAI plays a crucial role over here. So, for example, you can use the Azure Machine Learning. You can train and deploy the LLMs using the Azure Machine Learning services, and then you can also use the Azure Kubernetes services. You can also use the serverless functions, the Azure functions. So these are the helpful things. And Microsoft has partnered with the OpenAI to deliver mainly three goals: to utilize the Azure infrastructure, including the security and compliance, as I stated earlier, and then the regional availability that helps the users to build the enterprise grade applications. Because in the enterprise level, you also need to think about the regional availability. So that's possible with Azure infrastructure, and you can deploy the OpenAI model capabilities across Microsoft products. So if you already have the Microsoft products, and then you can integrate them easily. For example, for Office 365, the Copilot is coming. So Copilot is already coming; it's already there, and people are using the Copilot effectively. So if you want to make any custom for any Microsoft products, then this OpenAI model can help in enhancing them as well. And by the way, if you have never explored the Copilot, I highly recommend to take a look at it. It's really nice. And also it helps to use the Azure OpenAI workloads, which is really good. So furthermore, introduction to the Azure OpenAI service. It is actually a result of the partnership between the Microsoft and OpenAI. So it is not a service which is just available. So the service has a partnership already with OpenAI, and as a result of that, the service combines the Azure enterprise capabilities for the enterprise grade rollout. So for this Azure OpenAI service, they have these basically first thing is about the pre-trained AI models. Like they have the customization capabilities. They have the ability to fine-tune the AI models with your own data. Like that's a pre-trained generative AI models, and the customization capabilities is about if you have your okay, there are two sets. The first one is the pre-trained generative AI models. They have it as a template. You can basically pick it up from them and use it. And the second one is the customization capabilities. If you have your own data, then you'll be able to use it. And there are built-in tools to detect and mitigate the harmful use cases, so users can implement the AI responsibly. And enterprise-grade security with role-based access control and the private networks. So using the Azure OpenAI, it allows you to transition between your work and Azure services and OpenAI while utilizing Azure private networking, regional availability, and responsible AI content filtering. So if you see like the common workloads include the Azure machine learning, the computer vision, the natural language processing, the conversation AI, and the knowledge mining. So this generating natural language, they use the text completion, which is generate and edit the text, generating images, generating code. So in order to produce these kind of the effective machine learning, the model needs to be trained with a substantial amount of clean data. Because when you're going, especially for enterprise-wide rollout, you have your own use case. So in that first you need to prepare your own data, and then you have to train the AI model on the data what you have. So you have a model which is chat GPT 4, 4.5, or whatever it is, and then you should have the first a substantial amount of clean data. Only with that you will be able to make your use case successful. So in that, in most of the cases, you go with the customization capabilities, which is the option two, and then you will be able to do the enterprise grade security enforcement and roll it out. So that's the main benefit of having the Azure infrastructure, Azure services integrated into the OpenAI. So going further, how I can get started. First thing is like you need to sign up for a free Azure subscription if you're not having it. And the second thing is you need to request access to the Azure OpenAI service because this service is not available by default for any tenant. If you want to use it on your tenant, first you need to request access to the Azure OpenAI service with the URL which you have. So this is the one. I will post this link in the description. And the third thing is like it's very important to see what is the pricing details of the Azure OpenAI service, and then you have to fine tune it. Even if you're doing testing on your acceptance environment, just make sure that you deploy, test it out, and then delete them immediately because it would vanish your Azure credits. So it's very important to see what is the service pricing based on the GPT models or the model, the large language model, whatever you're going to use. See what is the pricing, and then based on that, you test it out or plan a deployment for any one of your use case. So going further, I wanted to show about this Azure OpenAI Studio. This is like the main place where it helps you to design and then test your code and empower your chat playground and then finally roll it out. So this is a powerful platform that simplifies the AI development. So the key features is like it gives you an easier access to the advanced models, which you see here. The OpenAI service provides the REST API access, like GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, and a lot of the other options. So these models can be customized for tasks such as content creation, summarization, image understanding, semantic search, and natural language to code translation. And also, if you see, there is something called fine tuning. You can fine tune your model for any specific use cases. But the fine tuning and evaluation, this tracing are in the preview. But this would eventually, come as a general in few months. So this virtual network support and the private link, you can securely connect to Azure OpenAI using virtual networks and the private link. And also you have the managed identity, which like you can authenticate via the Microsoft identity. Like if you have the Azure portal and studio, you can use the Azure portal for the account management and the Azure OpenAI studio for exploring and fine tuning. So these two things you can do. And the content filtering, like the prompts and completion are evaluated against the content policies. Yeah, so these are all the things that you can use the moment when you deploy. So this is an just an example to show you again. So the moment when you deploy, the first thing is you have to create a project, and in the project, like you can have your deployment. So for example, in the project, if you see, I have the project, and inside the project I have a GPT 3.5, the GPT-35 Turbo, which is called as easy customer support, and you see the capacity, how much tokens per minute. So this is also very important. You can choose how much tokens you want per minute. It depends on the user's consumption of your service. So, and you can choose the deployment type, the content filter, and rate limit tokens per minute. So all these things when you create, so best the first thing is you have to create a project, and inside the project you can create your models and then test it out. So this is the place where you can enable and test your chat. This part I have explained in the video which I have done it in the last year. That would really help you to understand what is the Chat GPT and how to use it basically uh, uh, over this integrating them with Azure OpenAI Studio and testing it out, because this is basically a playground where you can test it out and see before rolling out on the users. So overall, this is what I have to explain you today. These models, the large language models are revolutionized. Sorry, that said it's not coming into that word is not coming into my mouth. Uh, these models have revolutionized and still revolutioning to get into maturity level of rolling it out on an enterprise grade level. So it's very important to consider that you do all the hygiene work of the ethical implementations of working with these AI systems, because Azure OpenAI provides a powerful natural language models capable of completing various tasks and operating in several different use cases. So it's always important to see the considerations and using in a safe and a fair use. Uh, and teams and individuals tasked with developing and deploying AI systems should work with identifying, measuring, and mitigating the harmfulness out of it. So overall, I wanted to talk only about this, and in the next upcoming videos, I will try to create one use case and then utilize effectively this Azure OpenAI Studio. Hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you.